fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The magic grid of Veridia pulsed beneath my boots, a low, insistent thrum that vibrated through my marrow like a predator's heartbeat. The night air tasted metallic, tinged with ozone and the lingering scent of Leela's perfume, sweet honey and wildflowers, a reminder of skin pressed against mine in moments that felt both fleeting and eternal. I drew a slow breath, feeling the heat of my own blood rise as the memory of her lips brushed my cheek. A habit, a need, I flicked my wrist and summoned a crimson flame that danced on my fingertip, its warmth searing my skin and sharpening my focus. Magic was common here, woven into every stone and street lamp, but it never dulled the ache that throbbed whenever I thought of her. Leela's laugh still echoed in the corridors of my mind, bright and reckless, a sound that could cut through the darkest of spells. I could still feel the softness of her hair against my palm, the way her breath warmed the hollow of my throat when she whispered my name. Those sensations were both a weapon and a wound, fuel for my resolve, yet a reminder of everything I had lost. The city of Veridia was a maze of secrets, its alleys dripping with shadows that whispered of stolen artifacts and forbidden rites. Rumors swirled about a relic hidden beneath the old cathedral, a relic said to bend the very essence of a soul. If that was what had taken Layla, I would tear the city apart to retrieve her. I moved through the night, boots echoing off cracked stone, the magic grid humming like a restless beast. Each step was a promise to the woman whose eyes had once met mine with fierce, unspoken longing. My hand brushed the scar on my forearm, a reminder of the night the darkness first claimed her. I could feel the heat of my own desire mingling with the chill of danger, a heady mix that made my pulse race. The market district lay behind me, its stalls now silent, the lanterns flickering like dying fireflies. I slipped past the abandoned stalls, their wares long since pilfered, and felt the cobblestones shift beneath my weight as if the city itself were breathing. A stray cat slunk past, its eyes reflecting the crimson glow of my flame, and for a heartbeat I wondered if even the animals sensed the grief that clung to me like a second skin. At the edge of the market, a narrow passage led to the old chapel, its stone arches cracked and overgrown with ivy. The vaulted ceiling dripped with ancient runes, each glyph pulsing faintly, as if remembering a time when prayers were spoken aloud rather than whispered in fear. The air grew thick, heavy with the scent of incense and something darker, like burnt sugar. I whispered her name, feeling it vibrate against the stone, and the shadows recoiled as if recognizing the threat I posed. "Lila," I said, my voice low, "if you can hear me, hold on, I'm coming for you." In the dim glow, a figure emerged, cloaked, eyes like polished obsidian, the darkness around it seeming to pulse in rhythm with the grid. "Ethan," it hissed, its voice a blend of wind and rusted metal, "you cannot save what you do not understand." A surge of possessive heat flared within me, and I raised my hand, the crimson flame leaping higher, ready to burn away the lies. My heart hammered, not just with fear, but with a fierce, intimate longing to feel Leela's skin against mine again, to hear her breath on my neck, to claim the love that had become my greatest weapon. "Who are you?" I demanded, the words cracking like ice under a torch. The cloaked figure chuckled, a sound that seemed to scrape the very walls. "I am the keeper of the veil, the one who watches over the relic you seek. Leela is not lost, she is bound, a thread woven into the fabric of this place." I felt a cold knot tighten in my stomach. "Bound, what do you mean?" "Your beloved was taken by the relic of echoes," the keeper replied, stepping forward. "It feeds on longing, on the resonance of love, and it grows stronger with each heartbeat you offer it." The flame on my fingertip flickered, as if sensing the truth in his words. I clenched my jaw, recalling the night Leela vanished, how the sky had cracked open with a scream of violet light, how she had reached for me, her eyes wide with terror before the darkness swallowed her. "Show me," I said, voice hoarse, "and I will end this." The keeper raised a hand, and the runes on the ceiling flared, casting a pale blue light that washed over the chapel floor. In the glow, a fissure opened in the stone, a yawning maw that seemed to breathe. From its depths rose a low, mournful hum, like a choir of distant souls. "There," the keeper whispered, "the relic lies, but beware, Ethan. To claim it, you must surrender a piece of yourself, your love, your memory, your very essence." I stared into the abyss, feeling the pull of Leela's voice, a soft echo that seemed to call my name from beyond the veil. My mind flooded with images. The night we first met under the moonlit arches of the Royal Library, the way her fingers brushed the spines of ancient tomes, the taste of spiced wine on our lips as we whispered promises of forever. A tear slipped down my cheek, catching the flame's light and turning it to ruby. "I will give anything," I whispered, "if it means I can bring her back." The keeper smiled, a thin, cruel curve, then stepped forward. I took a breath, feeling the magic grid beneath my feet surge, as if the city itself were holding its breath. I stepped onto the edge of the fissure, the air around me crackling with raw power. The crimson flame leapt from my fingertips, spreading across my palm, and I felt the heat surge through my veins, igniting every nerve. The darkness within the fissure swirled, coalescing into a shape, a woman made of shadows, her eyes twin voids that seemed to stare into my soul. She was Lila, but not as I remembered. Her hair flowed like midnight ink, her skin pale as moonlight, and around her swirled the same crimson fire that now licked my hand. "Ethan," she said, her voice a blend of sorrow and hope, "you came." My heart threatened to burst. "Lila, She raised a hand, and the world seemed to tilt. "Listen," she said, and the hum of the relic grew louder, a chorus of longing that threatened to drown us both. "The relic feeds on love," the keeper intoned, "but it cannot distinguish between true love and the love that is forced. If you give it a love that is pure, it will bind you both. If you give it a love that is tainted, it will consume you." I felt the weight of every promise I had ever made to her, every secret whispered in the dark, every kiss stolen beneath the stars. The memory of the night we first kissed, her breath hot against my neck, the taste of rain on our skin, flashed before me. "I will give you my love," I said, voice steady, "but not as a sacrifice. I will give it as a weapon." The keeper's eyes narrowed, bold but foolish. I clenched my fist, feeling the flame surge, and whispered an ancient incantation taught to me by my mentor, a chant that wove my own life force into the fire. The crimson blaze erupted, engulfing the fissure, the shadows, and the relic itself. A scream tore through the chapel, a sound that seemed to split the night. The ground trembled, stones cracked, and the runes on the ceiling flared brighter than the sun. I felt Lila's presence pull at me, a tug of longing that threatened to rip my heart from my chest. Then, as quickly as it began, the chaos ceased. The fissure sealed, the shadows receded, and the air cleared. I stood, panting, the flame on my hand now a gentle ember. Lila stood before me, her form solid, her eyes bright with life. She reached out, her fingers brushing my cheek, warm and real. "Ethan," she breathed, "you saved me." I pulled her into my arms, feeling the heat of her body against mine, the familiar scent of honey and wildflowers flooding my senses. "I never stopped loving you," I whispered, my voice cracking with emotion. She smiled, a soft, radiant curve that lit the darkness around us, "and I never stopped believing you would come." The keeper watched from the shadows, his obsidian eyes flickering with a mixture of respect and envy. "You have won this battle, Ethan," he said, his voice softer now, "but the city still holds many secrets. The grid will pulse, and darkness will always seek a foothold." I nodded, feeling the weight of his words settle like a stone in my gut. "Then we will keep fighting," I replied, turning to Layla, "together." She squeezed my hand, and I felt a surge of power flow through us both, a shared magic that seemed to harmonize with the city's grid. The night air, once metallic, now smelled of fresh rain and blooming night flowers, a promise of renewal. We stepped out of the chapel, the streets of Veridia stretching before us like a living tapestry. Lanterns flickered, casting golden halos on the cobblestones, and the magic grid thrummed in harmony with our hearts. As we walked, Leela slipped her arm through mine, her fingers interlacing with mine as naturally as if we had never been apart. "Tell me, Ethan," she said, her voice low and curious, "what do you feel now after all this?" I thought for a moment, feeling the echo of the battle still resonating in my bones. "I feel a fire that will never die," I answered, "a fire that burns not just for me, but for us. It is the same flame that once threatened to consume me, now tempered by your love." She laughed, a sound that rang like crystal bells, and pressed a kiss to my forehead. "Then let us keep that fire alive, no matter what darkness tries to snuff it out." The city seemed to respond, the magic grid pulsing brighter, as if acknowledging our vow. Above us, the moon rose, its silver light spilling over the rooftops, bathing Veridia in a gentle glow. We paused at the edge of the market square, where a fountain once sang with water. Now the stone basin was dry, but the air hummed with potential. I knelt, placing my hand on the cool stone, feeling the residual magic thrumming beneath. "We can rebuild," Leela whispered, kneeling beside me. "We can heal the wounds of this city, just as we have healed each other." I looked into her eyes, seeing the future reflected there, streets lit with hope, children laughing, the magic grid humming in perfect harmony with the hearts of its people. "Then let us begin," I said, standing, pulling her up, one step at a time, one spell at a time. Together we walked back into the heart of Viridia, the night no longer a veil of fear but a canvas upon which we could paint our destiny. The magic grid beneath our boots sang a quiet lullaby, a promise that as long as we held on to each other, the darkness would never truly win. And as the first light of dawn brushed the horizon, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold, I felt Leela's hand tighten around mine, her pulse matching my own. In that moment, I knew that the battle was far from over, but with her by my side, every step forward was a victory. The city of Viridia would remember this night, not as a tale of loss, but as a testament to love's unyielding fire, a flame that could bend even the darkest of relics to its will. We turned a corner, the streets alive with the soft murmur of merchants preparing for a new day. The scent of fresh bread mingled with the lingering perfume of Leela's perfume, now a part of me as much as my own breath. "Ethan," she said, her voice soft as the morning breeze, "do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had never met?" I smiled, feeling the warmth of the sunrise on my face. I think the world would still be full of magic, but it would lack the fire that we share, and I would have never known the depth of my own heart. She rested her head against my chest, listening to the steady beat that had guided me through darkness. "Then let's make sure we never forget that fire," she murmured. I pressed a kiss to the top of her head, feeling the pulse of her life intertwine with mine. "We won't," I promised, "because every sunrise will remind us of the night we fought for each other, and every night will remind us that love is the brightest spell we ever cast." The magic grid beneath our feet thrummed in agreement, a silent chorus of the city's ancient heart echoing our vow. And as we walked forward hand in hand, the story of Ethan and Leela became a legend whispered in the alleys, sung by bards and etched into the very stones of Viridia, proof that even in a world of sorcery and shadows, love remains the most potent magic of all.